So I've finished all of the books so far that the Wheelhouse has given me, but I did talk to a couple of people in the dining room, and they were telling me a little bit of their story. They did mention, and a couple of the other tables around us were kind of listening in, and they provided their own input as well. And it sounds like the more spoopy your book is, or the less scary it is, the easier time you have while you're here. The scarier your book is, the scarier your time here. So that's kind of interesting. I'm actually almost glad that most of my books have not been very scary because that's made my time here at the Wheelhouse a little bit easier than some of my fellow guests. The people at the table I was sitting at, they have had a couple of pretty scary books and they had a couple of rough days. Luckily, they got a book that wasn't too bad after that, so they've kind of chilled out just a little bit, but I am super glad that I did not get any scary books. But I did finish Blood Hunter by Morgan Quaid, and I did really enjoy that one. That one had some great atmosphere. Let's see what the next book Wheelhouse has for us. Oh. Hunted. And who is this by? This is by Charles Welch. We'll see what this book is like. It looks like it might be a little scarier. I hope not at this point. I've only got a couple of books left to go, and I'm really hoping they're not going to get too scary. Maybe the last day, because I know then I'll be leaving. Well, I'm going to get started on Hunted. Hunted was pretty short and I finished it already, so that was exciting. I was able to finish that in just a couple of hours. Not sure what's going to happen next. Hopefully it's another quick and easy read and not one of the 400 plus page books that's on the spinner wheel. All right, Spellbreaker, and I think that's by Charlie N. Holmberg. This one I think is a little longer. It's under 400, but it's over 300. So this one may take me the rest of the night to get through. We'll see. I might get started. Getting really chilly, and it's also pretty late, and I don't have much light in here, but I wanted to let you know I did finish Spellbreaker, and I really enjoyed that one. That one had a lot of magic, and it was a nice kind of murder mystery sort of in there, and so that was really fun, but it wasn't super scary overall, so that was good. But I still have one more book to read, and I'm a little nervous about what I'm going to get because there's still some scary books on the wheel and I haven't gotten them yet. But they do have this some of the blankets here are so nice and the bed is so comfortable. At least they pamper you a bit while you're trapped in your room. But let's see what the next book is that the Wheelhouse is going to give me. Oh, okay. I think this one's going to be a scary one. This one's going to make me a little nervous. Okay, Camp Lanier it is. And this one is by Sylvester Barzy. Yeah. The last camp book that I read was Camp Silver Oaks, I think. That was one of the last ones. And then the Return to Camp Solvahachia, and both of those were were on this pretty scary and tense. They were short though, so I'm thinking this one is another shorter book, so hopefully I will get out without too much problems. I have a couple of unboxings for you. I got my pre-order in of Blood Over Brighthaven. I am so excited. I did read an art copy before it came out originally, and I am so excited to have the hardcover. And it has these beautiful red sprayed edges, and there's nothing super special about this one on the outside with like foiling or artwork or anything. It does have, let's go the right side up. The spine is really nice. I do like that it's the foiling on there, but there's nothing in the back of the dust jacket or the naked hardcover. But the inside pen papers are beautiful. That is such a beautiful map. I love it. And then the map is on the back side as well. And then we have a beautiful portrait of Emma Wang and her beautiful bird. And there's no pictures or anything in the book, but it does have a nice size font and decent margins, so it makes it a little easier to read, I would say. But I am just so excited for this one. So pretty. Oh, there are some illustrations in there. That's really cool. That's the spellograph machine that they used to do the magic with. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so I'm excited to give this one a reread, and I will leave the link to my review up in the cards above for you if you want to check it out and find out a little bit more about this book. But it is so good. It is definitely not lighthearted at all, and there's some hard-hitting issues in this book and some triggers, so you definitely check out the trigger warnings before going into this one, because there are some triggers in here. And some of the characters, I wouldn't say you necessarily absolutely love really any of the characters. I think there's one character that I think you can just really love, him and his daughter. You can really get behind them. But even the main character has some issues where you're like, you know, let it go or whatever. But she is a great main character, and all of the side characters, man, some of them you just don't like. And some of the issues that she faces, like sexism and things like that, just can make you really angry. But that's good, because that means Emma Wang did her job when writing the story. Such a great story. Loved it. Okay, I'm going to put this with my Sword of Kaigen books over here. And then we'll see what's going to happen over here, because I had pulled out the first book in the Gentleman Bastard series, Lies of Locke Lamore, because I'm going to be reading that for November. But it was facing front, and I'm going to have to turn it this way because I have another book that just came in from one of my Kickstarters, and I'm super excited to open this one up. And it is very well protected. Ooh, but it does have the QR code for the next Kickstarter, which is coming in November, and that is Conqueror's Blood, the second book in the Gunmetal Gods series by Zamil Akhtar. I will leave that linked down below for that Kickstarter, so if you want to save that and bookmark it until it comes out, because it's going to be amazing, especially after checking out what this book looks like. Beautiful. So bring a little more light here. There you go. You can see the shining foiling. And this creature here, you don't kind of meet until a little towards the latter part of the book. Very interesting. And then we got, of course, two of our characters there on the boat, and then we have the Gunmetal Gods, and we have this same character on both sides. That's this character here. That is beautiful, and it's nice and thick. It's a super thick bookmark. Oh, I like that. Okay. Here is the slipcase, the Gunmetal Gods, and again, that character there. Let's see if I can get this open with my fingernails if I need to go find a knife. There we go. Mechanical pencil works. So it does come in this beautiful leather slipcase. So nice, and it feels really nice. It's nice and smooth and soft. I love it. Oh, this is nice and sturdy too. I feel like it's not going to fall apart if it gets like falls over on your shelf, or another book kind of goes over if it's empty. It feels like it's going to hold its own, which I do like. So there's that character again. Look at that foiling. And I did read this book in October, so I do actually know a little bit about what's happening in this scene, which is kind of cool. But I love all of that holographic foiling. So beautiful. And then the back. They took his child. Stunning. Okay, let's get into this. I've seen a couple of sneak peeks, and now it's kind of interesting. So if you look at some of the other books, the dust jacket usually comes like closer into this section, but I like that they made it shorter so you could see more of what's happening. It doesn't cover up all the artwork as much. That's a great choice. I do like that. And same with the back. They made it short on both sides. That's a good choice. It says, we're all good men until we're pushed to the edge. Then you either die a good man, or the good man in you dies. Faith runs out as gold does, and nothing replenishes both like victory. Also great quotes from the book. Okay. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. And I love the two different colors, that copper and that gold. Stunning. Same here. So beautiful. And the hardcover just feels so, it's so thick and just feels so sturdy. He'll take their kingdom. And you can smell the leather. Okay, so we have the front end papers. And I believe 11 of the artwork in the book are full color, and that includes these two end papers. And look at those sprayed edges. That is just stunning. So much detail. Ooh, and there's a ribbon bookmark as well. And I love it. Not sure about the choice of that light blue. It does go. It's actually pretty close to my bullet journal colors for October, because I had the orange and the light brown and that light blue. Kind of interesting. Oh yeah. That is amazing. And it is signed by the author. Oh, so stunning. I keep forgetting to show you because I just want to look at it. So again, this is book 1 in the Gunmetal Gods saga by Zamil Akhtar. And then we have this amazing detailing all throughout the book as well. Ooh, and I like the bottom of where the page numbers are too. Such little details that you don't really think about when they're not there, but when you see them, it's like, oh, chef's kiss. So nice. Even the table of contents, and I love the font as well. Such great choices for that. And then it does have the list of all of the artists that contributed to the book, which is really cool. I love that. And the chapter headings are also in full color, which is beautiful. So color illustrations, the veil is lifted, go forth and see the unseen. So Siege of Costany is by Omer Buruk Onal, and that's the front end pages. We have Micah the Metal, Andrew Molesky, which is the signature page, which is this one here. Labyrinthos by Hazim Amin. And I love that they give you the page numbers for where to find the artwork. Makes it really easy to find. Look at that. Oh, look at those vibes. So amazing. But we also have this one here. Stunning. Then we have The Flower Shrine by Andrew Molesky, another one from him. Beautiful. I love those colors. Stunning. That the purple flower petals here stand out so nicely. Beautiful. And then we have another one from Hazim Amin, and that is the Ifrit. This little guy down here. It's amazing. And my like is most of them have something on the next page. So this is almost like him facing off against the Ifrit. So cool. Then we also have the Micah chapter headings. Ooh, this one's really cool. A Charge of the Zabadar by Hazim Amin again. So much detail in all of these. It's amazing. We also have this one here, which goes with that same scene. Ooh. This one is amazing. Okay. This one is A Green Fire by Andrew Molesky, and that is definitely green. That is so interesting. Love that one. Page 308. Ooh, here we go. So this is one of the gunmetal gods. And I believe that is the original cover of the book. At least that's what's on my ebook cover. So that's that same character, the gunmetal gods. Then we have Khatun, also by Andrew Molesky. So beautiful. And then The Archangel, and this one is by Ali Shimhak. Nice. Okay, and then we have the back end pages, which is Unholy War, and that is by Joel Chaim Holtzman. Hopefully I pronounced most of those right. But this book is just stunning. So much amazing artwork, and yeah. And the book itself is really good because I did just read it, and I haven't put it through Compile yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to get 4 stars. It's very interesting. If you would like to get Gunmetal Gods or the next book, Conqueror's Blade, I am assuming, I do not know for sure, so don't quote me on this, but I am going to assume that with Conqueror's Blade, they will also have Gunmetal Gods available for an add-on. Could be wrong, but I would think that they would, but we'll see. I will leave that link in the description box below in case you would like to check out the next Kickstarter for Zamil Akhtar and the Gunmetal Gods series, the second book, Conqueror's Blade. Stunning. Now I gotta see if I can fit this on my shelf. Okay, let's get the bookmark in there. Don't want to forget that. I've got to pull the bookmark out to look at it. It's blue on one side, but it's orange on the other, and that matches, kind of matches along here. That is amazing. I love that they did that. It also makes the bookmark a little bit thicker. I like that. The attention to detail on this Kickstarter for this book. So I can only imagine how amazing Conqueror's Blood will be for the second book. So exciting. Okay, so do I want it this way or do I want it this way? I really want it this way, but I don't think it'll fit. it'll fit for now until I finish The Lies of Locke Lamora and have to put that back on my shelf. So I will do that for now, and then we'll go from there. Oh, maybe not. Let's see, it's just a little too wide. Okay, and I've got a couple more books I have to fit on the shelf. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rearrange some stuff, because, yeah, between this shelf and this shelf, I'm definitely gonna have to rearrange the rest of my library here. So I've got, all of these are kind of the ones I haven't read yet for the most part. But then I have all of these that I have read, and I have another shelf way up at the top as well. Those are all book series that I've already read. So we'll see. But down here, under my chair, this is kind of a catch-all spot for my stuffed animal. My grandpa loved monkeys, and so he used to give us monkeys every year. And then I have some more cookbooks, and this is kind of like my natural books shelves, like How to Garden, Homeopathy. We have Healing Mushrooms, Essential Oils, Desert Gardening, Alchemy of Herbs, like some of those kind of books. So I may have to move those around a little bit and see what else I can do. I also have a whole lot of cookbooks down here. The bottom shelf is all of my notebooks from previous years, so I could always move those too if I need to, and just move all the cookbooks down one, and then use this shelf, move all of these down, and then have my more special editions here. We'll see. I will most likely have a bookshelf reorganization in 2025 once I get my Fate marked in and the rest of the Dragonbone chair, and yeah, I've got some really exciting books coming in that I can't wait to get, so stay tuned for that, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Okay, I finished Camp Lanier. Luckily it was really short. Was able to listen to it in just a couple of hours, but I did finish it, which is good because that one was creepy. That one had the good kind of slasher feels that you're looking for. It had a little bit of a Jack the Ripper storyline in there, and it actually did remind me quite a bit of Camp Silver Oaks, because you have the, basically instead of going to juvie, you can go to this camp for kind of your community service and your kind of a reformation type of thing. So a way to work off the crime that you may have committed, like shoplifting or something, like maybe you defaced a building or something like that, something that's a little more of a misdemeanor, and you can work that off at a camp. This one is Camp Lanier, and it definitely had a lot of good atmosphere to it. There are definitely some trigger warnings in here. There's a lot of racism in here, this one as well. Our main character is a female of color, and she is a teenager, and she succumbed to some peer pressure of her friends and stole some lip gloss, and she got caught, and so she had to go in front of the judge, and she ended up getting sent to this camp to work off her sentence, pretty much. So she had to spend the entire summer at the camp. And lots of interesting things happen while she's there. Yeah, there's ghosts, and there's an old ghost story. So Camp Lanier is on a lake, and the lake is a man-made lake. And underneath the lake is an old town that got flooded. So basically they gone in and bought up all of the houses and everything and gave people money so that the people could then move to another location, and then they flooded that town to make this lake. Well, things get interesting from there. I would definitely recommend it. It was very interesting, and it was pretty well written. So I have a little bit more time here at my stay at Wheelhouse. I've read my 13 books that the Wheelhouse has given me, and so as far as I know, I can do whatever I want now. I could leave if I wanted to. I could stay another night or two if I want with no consequences, which is good. I needed that. But I still wanted another book with more of that autumnal spooky feel, because Camp Lanier had a good spooky feel to it with ghosts and all of that in there, but it was set in the summer. And I wanted that kind of cold, cozy feel. And I had talked to you at one point about reading Pumpkin Man, and I knew there was a second book out, and I had that. I had brought it with me to read, and so I will be reading Creepers Landia, Pumpkin Man 2, Origin. So it's the origin story of the Pumpkin Man. So I'm very excited for this one, and I will get reading this, and then I'm going to check out and head home in the morning. Thank you so much for joining me on my little adventure to the wheelhouse. I see you made it out in one piece. Congratulations on completing your stay here at the wheelhouse. Please come again and tell your friends. I finally made it home from the wheelhouse, and after talking to the guests at dinner the last couple of nights, I am very grateful that I did not get very many scary books from the wheelhouse, because that would have been terrifying staying there by myself with a whole lot of creepy stuff going on. One of the guests said that they were reading a really scary book, and some of the things from the book were starting to happen in their room. Very creepy. Another one of the guests said that something similar. They were reading The Mist by Stephen King, and their room was like foggy half the time while they were reading it. So that would be very creepy. So I'm glad I didn't have any of that. We'll say it's an enjoyable time. It was interesting. It was an experience, and I am actually glad that I went. And I may think about going back again sometime. Maybe not for quite as long, though. Maybe we'll do a much shorter time period. Maybe a weekend or so. And maybe with a friend. But let's go over real quick all of the books that the wheelhouse gave me. So to start with, I did get Monsters Born and Made by Tanvi Burwa, and I did enjoy this one. It was a very interesting book, not super scary, but there were some moments in there, but I did really enjoy this one. Next, I read Evocation, and that by S.T. Gibson, and I did really enjoy that one. I enjoyed the first half of it a little more than I did the second half. Once the romance became more in the forefront instead of the curse and what else was going on with that, then it wasn't quite as interesting. So I did like the romance aspect that was in the book, but I wish it would have been more of a side story that was in the background than moving to the forefront. And then I read Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff, the first book in the series, and I loved this book. This was probably one of my favorite reads that the wheelhouse gave me, and yes, I cannot wait to get into the second book of it. It's told in kind of a Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice kind of style, where you have someone that's interviewing the other person, but the flashbacks I think were a lot more interesting and done better than they were in Interview with a Vampire. That one, and it might have just been me, but I felt like Interview with a Vampire was it was interesting, but still somewhat boring, I guess you could say, where this one kept me engaged from start to finish, and I loved it. So good. Next up, the wheelhouse gave me Gunmetal Gods by Zamil Akhtar, the first book in the series, and I really enjoyed this one as well. Not as much as Empire of the Vampire. I think if I would have read it at a different point in time from that book, if I had read this before it or a few books afterwards, I probably would have enjoyed it even more. But I did really enjoy this one, and I am looking forward to reading the next book in the series. The next book I got was Death Whispers by Tamara Rose Blodgett, and this is the first book in the Death series, Volume 1, and this was so much fun. This is another one of my favorite books. So Empire of the Vampire is geared towards adults, so it has a much darker and deeper content to it, where this one is geared more towards YA, so it has more YA situations that come up. So you have, high school bullying and that type of thing. But it was so much fun. I loved the banter between all of the different friends and the side characters that they introduce into their group as the book progresses. So much fun. I am really looking forward to continuing this series. I would highly recommend it. Next, I got Ghost in the Spell by Renee George, which is the 5th book in the Grimoires of a Middle-Aged Witch series, and I love this book. Again, so much fun. It is super cute, and I love the sarcasm and the wit and just the banter between all of the different friends and family and the different situations that come up. It's just such a fun series. A super popcorn read for me. I can easily binge the entire series all in a row. It's so good. Next was The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. And again, this one, I loved the first bit of the book. The middle was kind of, then it got interesting again, and then it was just, and yeah. So overall, it was good. Not great. Had some definitely creepy dick in it with some bug scenes. So if you're sensitive to that, just be aware. But it was interesting. I'm not sad I read it. It was good. I liked Horror Store by Grady Hendrix much better than I did this one. Next, I got Loftus, A Hall of Dreams by Helena B. Scott, and this one is totally different than all the other ones because this one, it is a fiction book, but it's basically a non-fiction that has a little story, a fiction story on top of it. So it's behind the myth of Ireland's most haunted house. So it's telling the story through the perspective of one of the ghosts that's haunting this house. So you get some nonfiction stuff in there with like, here's the pictures of the house. This is what happened when we went to the house, and the author's perspective of researching for this. But then she weaves this beautiful tale that goes along with it, and such a great and seamless weaving of the two stories together, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a fairly quick read. It's under 200 pages, I believe, and if you like reading some haunted house stories that are based in the real world, you may enjoy this one. It's not super scary at all, but it is very interesting. And then I got to read Blood Hunter by Morgan Quaid, and this is the first book in the Petra Graves Chronicles, and it is a Seven Hungers novel. And I would also highly recommend this one. This is definitely in the top books that I read during my stay at the Wheelhouse, and I very much enjoyed this one. There are some interesting little twists and turns throughout the story that keep you on your toes and keep you engaged, and I really enjoy it. There's a nice found family aspect to this story as well. So Petra Graves is training to become an agent. She's kind of a paranormal agent. So she seeks demons and things like that that are messing with the world, and she tries to take them out or to get artifacts magical artifacts that shouldn't be there. She's not great at it though. She's not a great agent, and she's really not good at being a partner to other agents. So they have brought her in to be a contractor, which basically means an assassin. So they will find her specific assignments that she needs to go in, and it's all about stealth. So she does have magic, but anyone that has magic can detect when someone else is about to do magic. So she needs to do most of her stuff in the mundane way, so sneaking up and just being able to fight and things like that without using her magic until the last moment to get the person that she's going after. And well, she finds out on one of her assignments that a whole bunch of stuff is coming down and happening, and things are a lot worse than she was told and that she thought. And all of a sudden she finds herself with not one, but 4 partners that she's going to be working with. And things get a little crazy. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Very interesting. Next, I had Cthulhu's Children by J.E. Murphy, and this one was interesting. I really had no idea what it was going to be going into it, and then I realized it was a YA, which totally fine, is much more my speed for scary books anyway. And this is all about the Cthulhu character that was created by H.P. Lovecraft, and it's about his children. And his children are able to become whatever they're around the most. So some of the kids are found by families, and they raise them to be their children, and so they become a human in form, and they can mimic our speech and all of that. They are super intelligent, so they're usually like graduating high school when they're 11 and heading off into college and that kind of thing, like our main character. But these children can also, the main character gets into a fight and gets his finger chopped off. The finger then becomes another Cthulhu child, which is kind of interesting. It's a clone of the main character, but that clone isn't brought up by human parents necessarily, so he turns into something a little more creature-like. So if they eat a lot of horse meat, they could then become a horse, or if they eat a lot of beef, they could then turn into a cow shape. So it depends on what happens. And for the human ones, it's just being fed breast milk and that kind of thing. It's not actually eating a human, because no, gross. So it was interesting. And then all of the children, Cthulhu is trying to draw them back to himself, but they find out there's some nefarious stuff going on with Cthulhu himself, and the kids want to fight back and don't want to go there. They like their lives as they are. Yeah, it was very interesting. I think I liked the first like 3/4 of it a little better, and then there's a little bit at the kind of middle to the end that was like, not sure if this is quite as believable or if it was quite as interesting. Was this necessary? There was a little bit of that going on, but then I thought the end of it was good, and overall I did enjoy it. The next book I got was Hunted by Charles Welch, and this one was interesting. I really enjoyed this one as well. The main character has a wife and a child, and he goes out to get some ice cream and some treats for their movie night, and he comes back to find his wife has been murdered and his child is missing. He is trying to figure out where his child is and what happened, who killed his wife. He eventually, years later, he moves on and finds himself being confronted by just a random person who then says he's the one who killed his wife, and he tries to kill him. So then he moves on again, and the same thing keeps happening, and he finds out that he's the one that is being hunted. And it was a very interesting concept. I really liked it. It had a good creepy factor to it as well, and it kept you on your toes, kind of guessing like who is the bad person, and who is the bad person going to show up in someone else now, and what is happening. And yeah, it was very interesting and kind of kept you guessing to the end. And then I read Spellbreaker by Charlie N. Holmberg, and this is the first book in the duology, and I really enjoyed this one too. It was more of kind of a murder mystery thriller where you have magic involved, and our young protagonist is kind of a worker for not really a wealthy house, but more of a middle class house, and she is a spellbreaker. So she is able to break spells that spell makers have put up for whatever reason the spell needs to be there for. Sometimes it's for good purposes, and sometimes it's for not good purposes. But she has been contacted by this group, and she gets a little assignment saying, hey, we really need you to go break this spell in this place because these bad things are happening, and so you want to make sure you break that spell. On one of these little trips, one of the people that are at the house catches her and kind of blackmails her. So instead of turning her in, he makes her kind of work off her wrongdoing for things that he needs done. So like the fields for some reason are just soggy and muddy and aren't producing, and so his people, the people that work for them, and the people who own the land aren't getting any food because the crops are all dying. And so he's, brings her to try and figure out what spell was placed there by a rival family, and she will then break it, so then the land will thrive again. And so he's a good guy. And they kind of have a fun little banter that kind of goes back and forth. But then she also finds out that the people that she thinks are amazing and are protecting people may not be exactly who she thought they were. I enjoyed this one. It had some great atmosphere. It had a little bit of that, I wouldn't necessarily say Sherlock Holmes vibes, but somewhat. So we had, that Victorian London-ish time, and you still have that, there's that mystery to solve, and so it just gives that fun kind of English Victorian-esque vibes to it. I really enjoyed it. And then the last book that the Wheelhouse gave me was Camp Lanier by Sylvester Barzy, and I did talk about this a little bit already, and this one was definitely some creepy vibes, good ghost vibes to it, and I would recommend it. It was another one that I thought was really good. Then lastly, for my own choice, which was a 14th book, I guess you could say, a little extra book on the side, just because I needed that autumn spooky feel. And that was Pumpkin Man 2 Origins. It's one of the books in the Creeperslandia series by Penny Moons, and I love this one. I think I like Pumpkin Man Jane a little bit better, but I did really enjoy this one. It had great atmosphere, it had the good cheesy slasher vibes, and it was just a ton of fun. If you want a good creepy book that, we'll say, doesn't take itself too seriously and has that nice cheese factor to it, I would recommend Creeperslandia and The Pumpkin Man. And that's all I got for you. I didn't get a lot of time to vlog for this last one, so all you get is just me chatting about the books. But we did get some nice rain earlier, and it is now freezing outside. I hope you had a great reading month in October, and I hope you found some good atmospheric reads to read during this fun month of fall and Halloween. I have a bunch of videos planned between now and the end of the year, and I'm looking forward to getting all those done. I've got my 2025 planner lineup. I've got to set up my new bullet journal and reading journal for next year, as well as my December setups. And as you probably just saw on Saturday, I am co-hosting the Season-a-thon readathon of Merry Bookmas in December, and I can't wait. I am so excited for it because I love taking part in Season-a-thon every year. It also means I get to learn a whole lot of new things, like how to do live streaming and sprints and all of that. So hopefully you will be able to join me. I'm going to be doing sprints on December 4th, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll probably just go for a few hours and do kind of some Pomodoro sprints for that. So a little chatting, a little reading, a little chatting, a little reading, and I am looking forward to seeing you all there. If you made it this far in the video, leave some sort of either spooky or red emoji in the comments to let me know you were here. And until next time, keep reading. Bye!